This video is brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one website platform for entrepreneurs to stand out and succeed online. I have a hot take. I love Yorgos Lanthimos. The Favorite, Killing of a Sacred Deer, The Lobster, and Dogtooth are all certified bangers in my book. He's one of the most consistent and unique directors working today, and I've been waiting for his next film for like 5 years now, and it's here. Poor Things is finally here, and despite coming into this with loads and loads of expectations, I still got something a lot weirder and a lot better than I could have ever hoped for. Poor Things is a movie based on the book by Alistair Gray about a woman named Bella Baxter who is brought to life by a strange scientist and what happens when she runs off to discover the world. I guess that's one way of briefly summarizing the film. It stars Emma Stone, Willem Dafoe, and Mark Ruffalo, and it is a lot. Something I really like about Lanthimos' work is that, in a way not too dissimilar to Wes Anderson, his films often feel like dollhouses where characters are so stiff and they have to explore human emotion from a ground level. It's like if you were to break down a person to their bare essentials and then have that sack of organs explore emotions like fear and envy. That feels like an oversimplified and disturbing way of putting it, but it makes sense in my head. Which is why in a lot of ways Poor Things, which is essentially a Frankenstein movie, is the perfect story for Yorgos to get his weird little paws on, as it's literally about a woman kind of discovering the world for the first time and what it means to exist in the world, what it means to exist as a woman in the world. Before we go any further, I have to gush about the cinematography first. He and his DP Robbie Ryan absolutely bodied this movie. This is without a doubt the best shot film of the year. His use of wide lenses has never felt more appropriate. It adds a weirdness to every scene that never throws you out of it. It just feels right for the weird tone of this movie. He goes even wider every now and then with a lens that was apparently meant for 16mm, but they put it on a 35mm format to create a circular vignette frame, which is extremely bold and risky. It could look terrible, but instead it works so much better than you think it will. The entire film is unlike anything I've ever seen before. I can't even compare it to other Yorgos Lanthimos movies. I love the fact that they'll use famous cities like Lisbon and Paris, but then turn the cities into just these absurd, otherworldly versions of themselves, yet somehow still capture the essence of the cities. I don't know how they do it. All of the title card shots, which are just these black and white moments of Bella moving in slow motion over different dreamlike settings, gorgeous. Oh my god, they're so good. Apparently they primarily used practical lights on set to achieve a more naturalistic feel, which is funny to say for something this strange. While that might feel like the opposite of what you want to do for surrealism, I think shooting something to make it look real, but then applying surrealism into the real world only emphasizes the weirdness. They understand that surrealism only works in relation to what is real, and the light is a subtle but effective way of making these strange moments work. I'll admit, when I saw the first teaser for this film, I was pretty doubtful the super artificial looking skies and backgrounds would work in the film, but of course they ended up working. I think it's so interesting how the most detailed and lived in part of the film is the building she's quote-unquote born in with the scientist. The same way the place you're most familiar with is probably the walls in your own home. But once she leaves that home, once she sets off to explore the world, a lot of the detail is lost in her surroundings. Things feel overwhelming and bright and surreal and hard to describe. It somehow perfectly nails that feeling of seeing a new place, being in a new city. It almost all feels fake. The score by Jerskin Fendrix couldn't be more fitting. All these tiny warped plucks and isolated sounds match the film perfectly. It's equally as strange as whatever's happening on screen, but every now and then a bunch of strings will come in and fill the silence, bringing in that emotional weight to the film that's also lurking beneath so many of these odd moments. And obviously the production design, the costume design, it's all perfect. Everything is so unique and well executed and beautiful to look at. Oh my god, despite the content of the scene being so disturbing a lot of the time. If you can't tell, from a technical standpoint, it's more than flawless. It's completely original and inspirational. I can't imagine how many films will reference this moving forward. There were already a handful of Yorgos imitators out there, and he's just raised the bar again. It proves that he's one of the best directors we have right now. As far as performances go, Mark Ruffalo is really amazing. He eats up every second of screen time. He made me laugh more than anybody else in the movie. Willem Dafoe is amazing as always. There's not a ton of new things to say about him at this point. Emma Stone is really doing something kind of special here. Like a lot of other aspects of this film, it's a risky performance that could so easily feel cartoonish and honestly offensive at times, but instead she really lives in it and makes something pretty tragic with the character. She's really funny in this movie and is also having a lot of fun in a contagious way. You can't help but feel wrapped up in the same feelings that she's feeling. But she also has a commanding and curious presence that makes her extremely compelling as a character. You never get bored of her. She never feels one-noted. Even in the beginning of the film when she's not even able to form fully coherent sentences, you still see her as a fully fleshed out character. It's a lot that she's bringing to this performance. It's an example of a completely committed performance that doesn't hold back at all. You don't get to see this very often. It's easily her best. I've gone a pretty long time talking about this movie without talking about how the film deals with themes of feminism, sexual liberation, societal norms, etc. The meat of the film, really. These themes aren't new to Yorgos, but seeing as though this is a movie about someone technically starting from the ground up and learning about these aspects of life for the first time, this does feel like the project he's been working towards his entire career. Without ever feeling preachy, the film examines sexual liberation in a pretty empowering way, exploring the nuance of topics like sex work in a way I'm surprised to see out of such a big movie. For the record, I don't read the film as ever making the case for women feeling the most sexually liberated through sex work. I think the film is actually critiquing that idea, not in a way that talks down on sex work, but in a way that questions where this belief comes from. The film is consistently asking the audience what true liberation actually is, in loads of different ways. The sex work one is just the most prominent one, and it comes to some sort of an answer in an absurd but touching way near the end. Again, like any great film, it's not shoving anything down your throat or yelling at you about what's right and what's wrong. It's just simply exploring these themes as a way of asking questions, and I think Yorgos is really good at asking those questions. I've always felt as though something that holds his films back from being widely regarded masterpieces is the fact that his characters are so stiff. In that way, it's the thing that makes his films great that also holds them back, which is what sets Poor Things apart from the others and elevates what he's been doing. By making a film about someone discovering herself, he in a way made his most human film to date. Bella Baxter, weirdly enough, is the most fully fleshed out character I saw on screen this year. If you can't tell, it's a little hard to summarize what is so moving about Poor Things. I do think it's because I haven't really talked about anything like it before. It's dense and hilarious and disturbing, and most importantly, really heartfelt. And in a year of devastatingly real films, I guess it's no wonder something this surreal and empowering felt like such a breath of fresh air. If you can't tell, I loved the shit out of this movie, and I will probably see it 20 more times. And that's what I have to say. Thanks for watching. Please go watch Poor Things and form your own opinion, and before you head out. I want to thank this week's sponsor, Squarespace, the best place to go to build a website and make that beautiful idea of yours come to life. They have this feature called Fluid Engine, which is a next-generation website design system that allows you to customize every design detail with reimagined drag-and-drop technology. As someone who is trying to go into film, who wants to make films for a living, it's important to have a portfolio, and you're probably in the same position. And that's why I love their video collection feature. Their video collection feature allows you to host video content, organize your video library, and showcase your content on beautiful video pages for desktop or mobile. And one of my favorite features is their asset library. With that asset library, you're able to upload, organize, and access all your files from one central hub and use them across the Squarespace platform. Trust me, it's super helpful. And the best part is that you can go to squarespace.com to start your free trial, and when you're ready to launch that beautiful website that you just made, you can go to squarespace.com/Karsten to get 10% off of your first purchase. I'm gonna go shave. Unless I shouldn't. Thanks for watching. Bye.